folks, well today we're going to get into the XA fender repair again. I'm sick of looking at the BA and Dylan's not here, so we're not doing anything on the XK at the moment. So what I did was get in and dressed back both sides of the welds where we've welded the center part of the rust repair in. So now I've got it ready to run through with some hammer and dollies and try to get it a bit smoother. Hammer and dollies not really something I'm any good at, but we'll give it a shot. We've also cut a bit of a relief into where the end of it started to pucker up, because as we were welding along it got to about here and then the gap was starting to close up. So I've just gone through and relieved that because it had a bit of pressure. Had a bit of pressure between where the two pieces of steel come together and was starting to pucker out, and you can see where that was pushing the repair panel away. So now I've just got to dress that one back up into place. We'll finish welding that up after we've tried to dolly that part there out smooth, and then we've just got to try and get that final little section down there to fit. After all that, this section here should then be sitting up closer to where it needs to be, because you can see that it's out of whack a fair way. So when we get that to come up in line with that, then we can dress that over, and I'll probably have to weld extensions onto there to make it look like the factory one, so we can run our spot welds down along there and weld it along the bottom. Then we'll be done. So let's see if we can get this a little bit straighter than what it is right at the moment, or if we just make it worse. So I've got a fairly flat low crown dolly, and where are we? One of the lower crown hammers I've got. I really should take these to work and finish them. The edges are pretty ordinary, but if I get that along there. Now we want to try and hit hammer on dolly to try and shrink that down. Here goes. Might have done a thing. Can we get to that section? Nope, that's right where the reinforcing is. So, but for the most part, we didn't do too bad. I'll go to the wider faced hammer. Right where that Rio brace is. Don't know whether it'll show up in the camera, but okay, so there's our reinforcing, so we obviously can't get under there, but all through there has come up a lot smoother. and it's taken a lot of that caved in area there away. Really got to try and get there, but from there that way is behind that Rio, so I'm not going to get that up. This here though, I might be able to flip the fender over now and do from there this way again. It's come up a lot flatter, but I can try and planish that down a little bit so it's not as knocky. How are we going to put this? There maybe? Okay. Which one of the dollies are we going to use on that one? See if I can get the edge of the dolly up under that Rio a bit. I might. Ow! If I'm lucky. This one. Cool. No. Back to this one. Now, down here, there is a dent in the original panel there, behind the double panel, which we're not going to get to, but use the small one. And just trying to think, I need, like it dips from there, that way it dips in. And there is no holes behind there that we can actually get through and push it up with. Like I said, this is not something I'm good at, and I'll put my hand up and admit it. All I'm trying to do is limit the amount of bog I have to put in this thing. Would have been awesome if we could have got into some of those spots to dolly them up, but to give you an idea, you can see where at the end, as I was saying, it was the original sheet metal dents down there, and the rust repair actually flares up a bit too, so we'll pull that into place. But for the most part through there, it's quite acceptable for a sand and a white skimmer filler. We'll weld up those two holes as well before we fill it. Now, just to see whether I can clamp that back edge down and get it to pull into place where I want it. That whole section there is high as well, and again we can't get anything behind it to dolly it, so I'll try a clamp, see how we go. Right, so I've got that setting fairly flush with where the where I want it to be, so we're gonna try and finish weld that to the corner, so that way we can lock it in and roll it over and dress it, and then see what we can do to maybe heat shrink this area here to get it to raise up or something like that, or might just be stuck with filler. The torch is set up pretty much where we had it last time, so it worked then. So let's just see if I can remember what the hell I was supposed to do. So oop. Put it there. I might try and get that welder a bit closer. I'm just not comfortable with where the torch is. It's pulling the cable off me. Nope. Couldn't tell it wasn't. Footy's killing me. Couple little spots back there where I have to fill a little hole. I should have that welder in a different spot. That's more comfortable. Okay, so we've welded through to the edge, or nearly at the edge, and we've had this section here sink in from there. So I'm going to dress this just so I can make sure I've welded all the way along and haven't missed anywhere. And then I'm going to try and put the tip of that dolly up onto the edge and dress this edge and sharpen this part of it up to match that. Try and get that all square, then lock that down under, and we'll see if we can got any gas in the oxyacetylene kit, and we'll just do a few little heat shrinks around there and try and pop that up, because that's where that Rio strip is underneath and we can't get at it. Okay, just got to trim that edge back a little. Okay, so what I'm trying to work out is down along here, that's the rust repair section there that we have to then dress in to match that, and then down to spot weld in along the original down here. This section, I'll have to have a look and see if I've got a fender outside that's got that intact, and I'll see how I'm supposed to dress that so it matches up. So, and then once we've got them locked in, I'll probably try and weld down there and along, just so that's locked in over that edge. And then up here, we'll try heat shrinking that there to get that to pop out after all that's finished. So we'll go find this other fender and see what we can do. So what I can work out, this has to follow the same profile as that all the way along, and then this all just dresses over so it touches against that. This one here, about here, has to come out a little, and that'll help it meet. So if I, oop, too far. Yeah, like that. And then slowly work it the whole way along. Come back to here and get that a little closer. I should be able to, if I'm lucky, I think I've got a dull chisel and I can put that crease line into about here. I'll find that. See if we can go there. this one maybe. So I could probably nick that little corner off there because there's what's left as a spot weld under there. That'll let that sit in flush. That's flush there. So we've got a weld down, across and on the tip. We've managed to dress most of this in fairly smooth with a bit of a crease so it meets, and then that goes into touch. That'll need a little bit of work up through there, and then it'll just get tack welded along that edge there. Here, the factory panel went basically from there all the way across to that peak. So I may make a strip to sit in there and then drill it and drill it so I can tack weld it and make it look flush all along there. And this pretty much matches what I can tell off the old secondhand XC Fender that I got sitting outside. So that should give us the profile we're looking for with a little bit more work. So I've finished dressing in all through there. I've got that all to fit in up to about here. I'm going to use the MIG welder because there's an air gap there and I'm just not that good with a TIG. So I'll MIG that up. It's only on the inside anyway, so there's plenty of room to dress it up and clean it up. Clean this out first. What you doing, Shelby? What you looking for? Blocking the light. Put a couple up here. Hold it. possibly turn it up a little bit. And I've finished welding up along the edge there. That'll give me something to grind and flush off, so it'll look like the panel goes all the way to the edge. This here is where I've made the, I've cut a piece of sheet metal to go in there, so it'll extend it up to the length of that, and I'll weld that through there. We'll be able to dress it up. This is already fully welded to the inner structure, so this is just to give it something to make it look flush and even the whole way along. Okay. I've finished dressing up all in here, and I've got this welded all the way along the inside and on the edge there. That's just going to be sanded up and cleaned up. I've managed to hammer and dolly around there to get the outer skin to fit the inner nice there. This step in the inner brace, once I've got the outer secured to it, then I'll redress or shape that and maybe nick it and straighten it up and add a piece in just to get it square again where I want it. And then I can trim that so it's flush with the bottom of the outer. I've just taken the spot weld drill and drilled 3 holes through there, and we'll secure that on, and hopefully that'll secure it to the base for us. one more. That one worked the way I wanted it. Okay. So we've secured in there, and then 1, 2, 3 plug wells across the bottom that I'll get in and clean up. And then I just have to shape this to the same profile as the bottom of the fender, and we're pretty much done with that end of it anyway. Okay, so our spot welds are all dressed up, or plug welds, sorry. I've cleaned up the lower edge of the inner so it's flush with the outer, and made it fit the radius they've got on the outer skin there. So now what I want to do is get the shape of this to step up a bit more, so that's not on an angle in, that's got to be square, and then to try and get this down to touch the outer skin, kind of like it does on this side. So we'll try and put more of a transition in that. See if I can do this. Now, bring that edge there. I suppose. Maybe sharpen up the one on the other side a little. Okay, so we've got that to sit in flush a little bit more. A sharper bend in there, coming down there. That's square, and we've put a more, I don't know, more defined bend in there. When it focuses. Oh, I think we can work with that. We've got one last thing to do on this part of the fender before we try and heat shrink this dent out of here. We've got to plug up these two badge holes. This little piece here, that's going to be not today. I'll do that again maybe on the weekend. But we'll just get these plugged up now, dressed, and then we'll see how we're going for time. I might even leave heat shrinking that till next weekend as well, because that way I can trim that, put that in, it'll stop any of the flex, and then we'll go through and get that straight. So I've got an old brass gear out of a brake lathe, I think it was, that we pulled apart when it blew up. So worked on that one. This one is right behind that damn brace again. What have I got? I might go. Can't get anything behind it, so see if this works. Alright. plugged up. Still reasonably flat through there. Obviously it's got a little bit of warpage. That one there will probably be able to dress up because it's not behind that reinforcing, but it's the one that's actually flat. This one here recessed in, so hopefully that comes out, because where it's got the warp is through here. So if we heat shrink that whole section up, that should get that nice and flush. But we'll do that, like I said, once we get this cut and trimmed, and we'll have to stretch this section here to match the curve of that. Because if we look from the other side, they didn't quite get it right. It's very, very shallow compared to the factory step. Okay. So couldn't help myself, welders were still out, so I've got it flush and tacked it on the outside corner so that end of the panel is even. Welded up the inner and outer side of that after I flush cut it with a cut-off wheel. Now we have to panel beat this hump up to try and match the curve of that. So with that all tack welded in and braced up, now you can actually see how far out the profile of this is in relation to the profile of the factory curve. So we'll flip him over, see what we can do. Now I don't have what I think I need, which would be like a little sandbag for up under there to try and take the curve in, but see what we can do. Better. What could I do? Panel that fit better, but is what I could have done. should be able to get, where'd the dolly go? Where is it? This one. Up into that little curve. So we've kind of got more of a step off there, and to follow that body line up is a little bit of a bulge there, but after we've cut that on the join to relax it in and flush it and welded and sanded that off, then we can try and dolly all that area up, square that up. But for most of it, we've got the body line to come down. We'll have to work on that curve through there to then come up and sharpen this line up, because again on that panel they've even got that out of whack a bit. That should be more of a pronounced ridge, and that should be more of a scallop the whole way along, kind of like there, but then it flattens right out as it gets out to here. So we've got to try and put more of a dish into there somehow. But for now, I think that's good enough that we can roll it over, fly cut that from there to there with the cut-off disc, and then should be able to stitch it along. So we've cleaned up and dressed up all of this before we put everything away. Now, definitely does need a bit of work with a hammer and dolly, but we've got it to transition up in through there. Acceptable. And I've got to work out some way to put like more of a dish in there so that we get the definite transition up into that, whether that be a piece of pipe the right radius laid down there and then just hit down to try and get it even the whole way along and then feather it out into that. I don't know, but it doesn't have big enough dish in there. And we still definitely, like I was saying, that section there or through there does need to be heat shrunk, so we'll try giving that a go. Now, turn it around. So those at the bottom there have all come up okay. And down in here, we welded both inside and outside, dressed all of that up, and it's fairly smooth in through there. So I've just got to work out by taking the template off one of the ones on the car, the profile of that. I just cut it along and then feathered it up in. But we'll see what the factory one is supposed to be shaped like and we'll work it. So we're going to give it a bit of a coat of the metal green now, just to stop it rusting between now and next weekend. And we should all be done. weekend. Okay, so that's it for another weekend. So next weekend we'll get in and give a go at heat shrinking, see if we either warp the hell out of it or if it actually works okay. But like I was saying, we've just got that one section there to do. If that works, then up at the nose cone there behind the indicator, we've got a couple of spots where we can pull out and shrink up and see what we can do there to get them into shape, and at the bottom edge as well where it's got a bit of a kink in it. So if that all comes up straight and everything, we'll then get into stripping it all back to bare metal and get it in epoxy. Thanks for watching. See you next time.